Welcome to TONIC Experience. My name is Darren Kramer. We're so happy you're here today. We have a special guest, Pete Lewis.
I like espresso because there's so much depth in the taste, and then the feeling is like in our group Polarity, which we'll speak about. I've written every guy in the band a piece of music. I was living in Illinois at the time, and I just remember thinking, like, one day I'm going to live here in Colorado.
Give your services to help improve other people's lives. That's one of the keys to being a happy human being.
Yeah. Oh, I want this gig to be great. And that's all good, but man, there's such a bigger picture and things that carry so much weight out there. I try to put that in perspective.
Welcome to TONIC Experience. My name is Darren Kramer. We're so happy you're here today. We have a special guest. Let's all welcome Pete Lewis. Thanks for being here, Pete.
Thanks, Darren. Real pleasure to be on the show.
Yeah, this is so great that this has worked out. It always takes a lot of scheduling to get things happening like this and all the technology, but you've been doing this now with the Muse Performance Space, so you're a savvy techno wizard now, like some of us have had to without the lack of gigs, and so it's neat that we get to have you broadcasting right from the Muse in Lafayette, Colorado, and it looks really great there.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we've learned a whole lot, and I got to say, Claire's been the main person who's controlling all the live streams. Her and her brother just got deep into it, and I'm just kind of along for the ride. But we've been every time it gets a little better and dialing in the sound, as you know, it's an art form, you know.
You've been doing lots of live streams and concerts, all through last year, but how do people find the Muse Performance Space?
Our website is www.museperformancespace.com. Dwight Thompson, who's done Dazzle's website, helped us with our brand new website. So there's all sorts of very convenient links on there. As far as getting to the upcoming shows, where you can just click and you can find the live stream on Facebook or YouTube. So that's been so helpful for us, or even posting events. It's like everything's right there, convenient for people to click on. And then people can see the shows afterwards on YouTube or Facebook.
The live stream has its benefits. It's different than live gigs, but it can be looked upon as a new outlet.
Definitely, I agree. And there's been so many people like who have played here, and it's like, oh, finally, my parents or my aunts and uncles got to see me play, and they,
Yeah.
in California or wherever, and so for that respect, or just viewers who have maybe saw another show, and, I'll see what's going on at the Muse. They wouldn't normally come to a show, but all of a sudden they're checking out these other bands, and it helps out all the musicians, all the groups, because they're just broadening their fan base. You
And
know.
you can reach virtually anyone in the world. That's the amazing part of it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm finding that, like, if there was a negative, there's so much out there now. So how do people filter through, what's good? So, it's trying to, hey, we're here, trying to get everybody's attention, and that too. So
This is called Sonic Tonic Experience: concerts, cocktails, and conversation. And so you heard a little bit of Pete's new group, which I'm happy to be a member of. It's a 5-piece band called Polarity, and that's what you heard opening the show, his demo reel for that. And speaking of live streams, we just did one last night at uh, Dazzle online, and they've been doing these live streams, and hopefully some of you were able to catch that. You can always find that information on the Muse website or on Facebook, social media, and super fun. And I saw that and immediately thought, man, this is going to be a great gig because the sound and the video look
yeah,
so good.
they do such a great job.
So the sound is always great when Colin's involved. So keep your eyes out for that. Dazzle.com is the way to listen to those, and they have them a lot during the week now. So we had a lot of fun last night doing that. Let's get to this tonic part. As I've said before, it's not always about an alcoholic drink, and I always let the guest pick one of their favorite items. So tell us, Pete, what are we drinking today?
I chose espresso.
So what is it exactly about espresso that you love and not just coffee in general?
I like espresso because there's so much depth in the tastes. Where coffee, it's kind of linear. Just in espresso, there's sweet, there's bittersweet, there's bitter. There's a whole depth of that hits your taste buds when you drink it, and then the feeling is like you're kind of alert, but you're not jittery. Kind of, I don't know what it is. It's a little more mellow. And I really love that feeling of it, but I think it's just the depth of taste. And I drink it just straight, no milk. Usually, sometimes I'll drink coffee with milk in it, but espresso, I just want straight, that taste. I'm drinking it out of this mug here too, because I thought that was maybe inappropriate for these times.
That's it, man.
And this was back in World War II. There's a British motto that they had, but I thought it was pretty good for right now too. Like we just
But
got.
can you keep calm
Well,
and drink espresso? Most people think those don't go together.
that's true. Just enough, that's like in balance in life too. It's like you can't have too much, but a little bit, is good.
It's like a life lesson. That's nice. You had told me you kind of wanted some espresso, so I love coffee myself. So I've been discovered this new for me is Illy coffee, which is really from Italy, right? And
Yes,
so when you go into all those little cafes, um, that's really a lot of times what you see them scooping into the little and making the espresso. And so I'm surprised, man. This has been taking me back in the last 2 weeks. My girlfriend Julie, she just discovered it and was talking to her friends, so she brought it home, and then she was just like, I think this might be good, and it's been really great.
that's cool. You have an espresso machine? You just make it in your, yeah.
No, but it's on the list, man, because and our mutual musician friends here around Denver, Sam Williams, he's way into. And you said some of his coffee is some of your favorite.
That's some of the best stuff I've ever had. Anyway, he's got,
Why?
man. Yeah.
What is it? Why do you think that?
Um, I think attention to detail, and that he's roasted beans for a long, long time, and it's kind of just kept experimenting. He's got a real good palate as far as like what tastes good. And so, yeah, I remember the first time I met him years ago, we started talking about coffee, you know, he wanted me to try it. So he's been in it for a long time.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
he's invited me over. It's been really neat to see him roast it. And he buys beans and then he roasts it at home in his smoker and everything, roaster, and then has it all dialed in with the temperature for the water and how long it's going to steep. And it's a thing. And so I bought coffee from him. And I got to say, it's quite pleasant. So it's really neat to kind of go deeper into people's lives and kind of realize that, man, if they're a really attentive, awesome musician, they're probably bringing that mentality to other parts of their life. And that's why I created Sonic Tonic Experience. So you're a perfect candidate for that. So thanks for being here.
Thanks, man. Just reflecting on that too, I think a lot of us musicians want something concrete that we can see. Because, you know, you're playing music, you know, you got a recording, but usually it's like the gig's over and the whole thing's done. And you don't really have anything to hold in your hands, you know, like Will's great with wood and building, and Sam with the coffee. And it's like, you know, some people love the paint. It's a little more concrete, something you make. You know, it gives a little balance to like the music thing, which is maybe just you're listening and then it's gone unless you have a recording, you know.
Man, that is a I haven't really thought about it quite like that. That's very cool because yeah, there's it's an abstract and it's kind of how it makes you feel, but you can't really touch it, right? You're
Mm.
touching the instruments, but the actual result that comes out of it is sort of this mysterious sonic
Yeah.
quality, yeah.
And
And
like,
for those of you that are he mentioned Will, it's Will Swindler. We just featured him earlier this month. Go look that up because he's a brilliant woodworker, and so he puts all that passion and detail into woodworking and building all sorts of things. So if you're into that, you should look that one up. So Pete, what kind of got you into wanting to write songs and then actually doing it?
um, I guess it was my love of harmony and melody, just, you know, trying to mess around with those two elements of music. And then I realized that, you know, as a musician, what could be better to put your individual stamp on from you, you know, this is who I am, you know, through my composition, of course, through my playing, you can usually tell like somebody's tone and the way they perhaps improvise a line. But, you know, when you have your own music, um, to me, that was like the ultimate of self-expression and like me as, you know, this gift of life as a human being on this earth. That's like, you know, I love Coltrane and all these other, my favorite players, but as much as I want to sound like them, I still need to be honest with myself in my playing and my writing. And so I thought that was a great way to do it. And also, I love to write for other people. You know, when we have guest artists with our group Expeditions that plays at the Muse, I'm always writing the guest artists at least one or two tunes, or perhaps even arrangement. Or in our group Polarity, which we'll speak about, I've written every guy in the band a piece of music. Um, I think it's a motivator for me, and it also gives me some ideas what to work with. You know, it's like about Darren Kramer. Let's see what makes Darren click, and maybe some things I can express through those tunes for him. You know,
That's that's so cool. I have to say, I've been in music my whole life, and I've never had anybody write a tune for me. So thank you very much.
it's hard to
Uh,
come up with titles, but yours wasn't too bad.
Darren's Dilemma. That's the song that Pete wrote for his group Polarity. And l- let's take a listen to some of this, and then I want to ask Pete a few questions about it. So here's Darren's Dilemma.
This next tune I wrote for Darren and Darren Kramer, and he's going to be using some of his Ableton wizardry, and we're going to be blending some computer Ableton landscapes into acoustic landscapes. So I think you're really going to dig this, and this is called Darren's Dilemma.
Thanks, Pete. It's so great to be here playing with the real musicians and in such a nice setting. And kudos to Dazzle and to Colin and Mighty Fine to make this all happen. And kudos to you, Pete, for putting together this great band. And not only that, then to do this special thing of writing a tune for each person. It's very cool. So this one's Darren's Dilemma. Thanks, Pete. It's so great to be here playing with the real musicians and in such a nice setting. And kudos to Dazzle and
to Colin and Mighty Fine to make this all happen. Kudos to you, Pete, for putting together this great band. And not only that, then to do this special thing of writing a tune for each person. It's very cool. What's nerd? Synopsis. Was.
That was Pete Lewis and myself, Darren Kramer, and we just did a live stream last night with Dazzle Jazz Club here in Denver. So he has a 5-piece band. Tell us about this song. How do you come up with a song?
Usually the melody, some type of melody idea. Like I have a book of like melodic fragments I'll work with. And I like that little thing, and then I'll just expand on that to try to create melodies. So a lot of it's played on my saxophone first, just coming up with melodies, because I feel like if I can come up with a strong melody, then I'll usually lay out the harmonies underneath that. You know, I don't want the harmonies to dictate what my melody is. I'm usually going the other way around. So maybe I'll take the top note of the melody and then harmonize it from the top down. And it sometimes is functional and sometimes not, you know, but it's whatever it's going to sound the best. And in this one for you, I remember coming over to your house. It's like, hey, Darren, how can we incorporate, acoustic and then going into Ableton and maybe coming back? And so you gave me some great ideas for that. And I think the band's doing a good job with doing that. And I love what you've done as well. So that's how that came about. And I know you love funk. And so I knew it was going to be like a kind of funky piece. So that's how that tune came about.
It's so neat to hear people's thought process, and that's what this show is also about. Hopefully there's a lot of musicians watching and realizing there's no right or wrong. It's just, it's so fun to explore. I love that your other group with your wife, Claire Church, is called Expeditions. It's like you're going out there on a journey, and the thing about jazz and improvisation is it's not going to be the same each time. And I love that aspect, and I think some people are a little shy of that. Why do you love improvisation?
Why do I love it?
Yeah.
Just kind of what you said is it's going to be different every time. The depth is just endless, like what you can do. Creating melodies in the moment with like you tapping into all your musicality and like, can you react to what's happening, and create something, that's going to be musical and worthwhile in that moment, and I think when we hit it and it's happening, it's like, oh man, there's nothing like it, So
There isn't, and this collaboration is so cool with a band, other musicians, they're putting in their 2 cents. Like right now, we might have some ideas what we want to talk about, but we don't know exactly when or what or how we're going to talk about them, and you interact off each other. And I think some people don't realize that's exactly what's happening with jazz musician, and I think that's what we all love about it. Is it's kind of this you're on your toes.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, for me, I always think like I'm in my head trying to process all this stuff, but then you need to be listening across the room to everything else too, so you got your brain's like on fire, trying to process all this stuff, which I think is healthy in so many ways,
But here's a cool thing. That's a great point. You're playing saxophone. You wrote the tune. You're making up your solo. And then on top of it, people, I'm sure, were going, wait a minute, why is Pete's saxophone sound so weird at that moment? And we have a couple other clips I'm going to play. And so tell us a little bit about your electronics. You know that have been into that for years on my electric trombone DJ setup, and now you just recently got into that, and how's it feel?
I love it. It's a whole nother palette. It's like, maybe you're painting with blue, green, and red, but now you have all these other colors to work with. Plus it changes some of your lines, like, oh wow, I wouldn't even play that if I wasn't hearing that kind of that distorted thing. I'm hearing more guitar lines now, or, the echo, I can just let space because I'm hearing the reverb or the echo come up. So I don't have to play as much. I play with less and just let the idea flow.
It has to kind of like breathe and let it do its thing. I want viewers to listen here a little bit of you playing on a song of mine called Bone Chillin', and I love the way you're using this harmonizer. So just your viewers out there know that when you're hearing the saxophone sound like numerous saxes at once, Pete didn't record on different tracks and do like a 4-part harmony. It's built into the pedals that you see on these photos that I've been bringing up. So let's take a listen to a little segment of Bone Chillin' right now.
what I'm still getting used to is not having to look down at all the, which is you're great at. I think you even have something installed on your trombone now where you can just kind of hit it with your thumb.
Yes.
So, you probably saw me, I'm looking at my feet. They're like, wait, was that the right one? But, you just get used to it just like anything.
That's so true, right? It's like it turns into an extension of your instrument.
Yeah.
And you got to practice it, just get used to it. When I started doing that with all my pedals, yeah, sometimes I didn't have to put like white tape or fluorescent tape so I could even see them. It's fine at your home, and then you go on the club and it's all dark and you hit the wrong thing and it advances the song instead of starting the loop. And, there's a lot of challenges, and it kind of aggravates you at the time, but that's how music is too. That's how life is, right? You're learning something and all of a sudden you go, okay, I just learned from that. I love this phrase I've been trying to really keep at the forefront of my brain these days. Whatever is happening, whatever, is occurring in your world is happening for you and not to you. So it's an opportunity for growth.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And we've seen a lot of that with this whole live stream and kind of adjusting our lives as musicians through this quarantine and all. And there's a lot of frustrations that build up, but it's kind of neat that now, who knew that you with Muse Performance Space were going to be presenting live streams and kind of going in this other direction. You have to take what life is sort of presenting for you.
Exactly, man. I think that's a beautiful way to look at it, and you just approach it with positivity and like, okay, I'm going to take this challenge and run with it and learn from it, and you do the best I can.
If you're enjoying the show, learning and listening from Pete Lewis, please consider a small donation of any size. It's much appreciated and really helps us both keep making music and providing content like this.
One thing on Sonic Tonic Experience that we do is this mention of musicians are way into music. That's what they do. But they take that same mentality and kind of put it over into whatever they're eating and drinking, but also in their side hobbies. And so I've known Pete for a long time, and we'll be on some gigs like, we play with the Temptations or something, and I see him backstage and, hey man, what's going on? And he's like, I rode 22 miles today up Boulder Canyon. It's like you never know what's going on in people's lives outside of when you're with them. And so what you were telling me, your side hobby is being active, but what are some of your favorite activities?
Biking, of course, road biking, just getting out. I've been getting into hiking and trying to explore all the trails in Chautauqua, just starting with that first, climbed up Bear Peak last week. I'm just trying to push myself a little bit physically, mentally, because you get to the top there, it's like you're just going over rocks, and I got a little bit of fear of heights, but I was like, man, just push through this. I love getting on a wetsuit and going swimming in San Francisco Bay, which I do just only once a year with my brother. But that's another challenge. You dive into this 55 degree, 60 degree water, and you struggle a little bit mentally, physically, but then you get out there, you look back at the skyline. It's like, oh, this is fantastic. So I love doing stuff like that. It's not dangerous, but it's just pushing your physical limits just a little bit more than you might think. It's a lot of it's in your mind. So I swim. I play ice hockey, although I'm not playing right now because of the COVID time. But anything that's engaging my body and physically just seems that's something I gravitate towards. So
I think that's awesome. We're lucky to live here in Colorado. The weather is usually quite nice, and even if there's a blizzard, even that's kind of fun. But then you're almost guaranteed the next day it's going to be pure sun.
Yeah.
And even if it's 40 degrees, 30 degrees, it still has this freshness and inviting aspect to it where you want to get out in it.
For sure, man. I remember when I was in college, I would come out here to visit my brother and we would ski. I was living in Illinois at the time, and I just remember thinking one day I'm going to live here in Colorado.
Nice.
And, via Portland, via Oakland, California, and then finally made it here.
When did you move here?
Oh, a long time ago, early 90s.
we should bring up the point that in your band Polarity, you have a little band member in there that's part of your family, right? So tell us about Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick, my son, who is now 30, and but a great drummer. And I just getting to play with your kid at that level is just something else. My daughter is also a wonderful musician. She plays guitar, singer-songwriter, and we've done some recording as well. So it's like the kids are doing it. It's like, yeah, you know, it's really cool. So yeah, when we moved here, they were just tiny.
Yeah, and
So,
then they grow.
mhm.
And we got to give a nice shout out to your wife. Yeah, Claire Church. She's one of the hardest working people, both of you guys. So nice, so great with the music community here. And I've known her, Claire, for years, playing in big bands she's a saxophone player, and a lot of times I'm bari sax. And then she ended up having this hard time with a little health issue. You want to just give us a little synopsis of that?
Yeah. So Claire was like, you know, one of the first call saxophones, especially bari sax, like you say, and working with everybody. I think one of the last gigs she did, she was on the road with Doc Severinsen, and she got this condition called dystonia, which is a neurological condition. And she just had this progression of like, she couldn't form an embouchure anymore. She was like, what's going on? I thought it was my reeds, my mouthpiece. And it just disintegrated to where she couldn't play anymore. And so she started playing drums, and we did a few little coffee shop gigs. And it's the difference for her playing 6 years ago to now is phenomenal. You know, she's just worked really hard. And, you know, there was some real dark times, as you imagine, like, you know, when you're at kind of the top of your career and it goes down to the bottom. But in some respects, you know, as sad as that is, it's her perspective of life has changed a lot. When you are way more empathetic to people, you realize like there's so many people that are struggling out there with so many things. You know, you kind of become in tune with that. And she said that it was awakening for her, you know. So
Yeah, and it's a neat thing. If you really think of it, this is happening for you. Man, there's a lot of situations where that's a tough pill to swallow, but going, this is what it is, and what am I meant to learn? And I'm still a person, and I still have these passions, and maybe I just have to shift it. And so I think that I've noticed of both of you is how cool it is. You're musicians, but now you've created Muse to kind of provide another venue, a really great space is where you're sitting right now, awesome room. You can have live events there, and now this has been the center of your live stream. So now you've created this new thing. But Claire, instead of then going, well, I can't play sax, I can't control my embouchure, now she's a drummer, and she's in this band that you guys have started called Expedition. So that's so neat that she just took her skills and go, well, now it has to be on a different instrument.
yeah, I'm so proud of her and where she's come from, and also with the live stream stuff too. She's the one, like I mentioned earlier, is like got really deep into it, or at the soundboard. She's just like knows it in and out. I was like, man, this is incredible. Yeah.
And what's really neat is that both of you have spent a lot of your career as band directors here in Colorado.
Yeah.
And so how neat it is to have people like you who have such a positive attitude to learn something new all the time, this vibrant energy, and then to be sharing that and spreading that to the younger generation. You know, you guys are model citizens of what I think the power of education is, where you're there to help pass it on, right?
Thanks, Darren. I mean, yeah, and funny is like when I got out of college, you know, I thought I was going to be big jazz star, you know, and was just doing, or just a musician, just gigging, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, if you have to teach, that means like you haven't made it, man. Like you failed, you know. As a musician, there's this kind of that monkey on your back, and so we had children. I was like, man. So I started teaching full time, and after a while, I was like, wait, this is a gift. Like to be able to teach these kids and make a positive impact in the community, and so I felt really good about that career choice. So, and I was able to play a lot of great gigs as well, you know, do both.
And I think that's important because you can get in. Did you find that's really challenging to then you're sitting in sixth grade band during the day, and then you have to go to Denver and play this really hard big band music. How did you balance the two?
It was like a cleansing. It's like
Yeah.
I could go to the sixth graders and like realize like, okay, kids, you don't sound very good, but I realize if you keep at it, you can play great music, which I'm going to experience later tonight, So I encourage like anybody's listening to this who's a band director to keep playing at the highest level possible, because that keeps the fire in your belly, the musical fire. Like when we had children, we would just take turns holding the baby. Someone would go practice, and then the other person hold the baby. It's just like taking turns, and it took that effort to keep things going. But I'm so glad that we did.
Once again, if you can spare a couple of bucks for Pete, love to give him some support by spending his time here with us today.
Another side passion of yours is you're really interested in these social reforms and doing something greater than yourself, the big picture. And so what is some things that you're really passionate about and you're trying to make a change for the world?
There's a couple of different organizations that I fund. One is called Kiva, which is like microloans, which I think are great it's mostly for third world countries, South American countries. And I focus in on women and education, because I think through that you can build stronger communities, more education for women, giving them the money to create their own businesses. So I've supported Kiva for a long time. Also, there's the International Justice Mission, which, believe it or not, there's still a lot of slavery going on, especially in Africa, unfortunately. And so International Justice Mission brings in lawyers and actually people working almost like a spy, incognito, to free these women either out of slavery, and sometimes it's whole families that are being enslaved. So I just couldn't believe like this is still going on, and so when I start putting all my thoughts and like, oh, I want this gig to be great, and that's all good, but man, there's such a bigger picture and things that carry so much weight out there. I try to put that in perspective, like, this music is great, but there's these bigger world issues and humanistic things that really need some of my time and money and thought.
If people haven't done this and give of yourself and volunteer and give your services to help improve other people's lives, that's one of the keys to being a happy human being. And
yeah.
I've just been so into that in the last couple of years, and so many great articles and books, and that's what's led to me creating this Sonic Tonic experience, is thinking, I love music, I love food and drink, which I think is, everyone loves those three things on some level, but why do you love it? And how can you take that passion for those things and then put it to do something to help inspire people? It's all about, for me, it's about inspiring and educating. And so if people are inspired by now your story, Pete, I mean, what can people do specifically to help these causes that you're interested in?
Well, for like Kiva is kiva.com, kiva.org, I'm sorry. You can contribute like $25 microloan, and then that's eventually paid back, and then you can recontribute that or add more in. And so you go to the website, you choose like, okay, I want to contribute to this particular thing. Maybe it's agriculture and a particular group. So that's just a super easy way to get started. And so you're just loaning these folks money just to help them, and then it comes back and you can reloan that money. Same with International Justice Mission. It's the same thing. You can just, that money is just given out, that you don't see it again. But those are just two examples.
It's great.
Yeah.
So I'm bringing those up on the screen. So this is all a learning experience. So if this isn't a one-off show and then now you go back to your normal lives, hopefully this puts you on a slightly different path. That's what my hope is for this program. And it brings up this final point of saying, you play an improv solo, it goes out into the world, and to get that fix again, you got to do it again. So then it's present moment. So then, boy, and actually I've kind of been neglecting my espresso here,
Yeah.
but you need another hit. Guess what? You got to have another beverage today. You got to drink more water. You got to work out. So it's actually, you don't get to this final destination. You got to do it every day. So it's so interesting that you're saying you can't believe that there's still slavery going on. There's still this racism thing. There's still political injustice. I mean, that doesn't ever get to a point where there's a finish line. So it's really about your daily choices and your interactions with the people you run into, and that's where you can make a change. I think that's what's your view on that?
I think you're right on, and it has to be a daily thing that you do. It's just part of your routine. It's something just as you're going to practice every day, you're going to do a little bit of this every day. You're going to take care of yourself physically, mentally. You're going to think about other people. What did I do for somebody else today? And it just gives your life kind of a whole balance, kind of what we were talking about, the espresso. I feel like this is huge balance of that particular drink. And then I think, you can feel like your life has a lot of meaning, and depth to it. And you can live in this kind of, with gratitude. If you're living with gratitude, it just feels like your days are a little more joyful.
Yeah, that's well said. And I think everybody in Colorado who knows you feels that from you. You're one of the kindest, most giving persons that we know. And it's it's always a pleasure to know you're going to be on the gig, or now we've had all this stuff with your band, or I'm going to have a performance at the Muse. We know it's going to be a pleasant experience. So kudos to always having a positive attitude and being.
Thanks, man. Yeah. And to you too. Every time we're together, I know that you're going to be positive, and you're just constantly learning and wanting to better yourself and giving to others and growing as a human. And I really appreciate that about you.
Thank you, Pete. And one of those things that's happened, and we haven't really done it enough on this show now, is that we always, and it happens a lot, where we get on this silly little thing and we end up laughing really hard at stuff. And I think humor is a big element to being happy as a person. And it doesn't have to be a particular joke. It could just be, anybody who knows me, I make a lot of dumb sounds, and just to get a rise out of somebody, So we always like to finish off the show, and there's a special part where we have such crazy lives as freelance musicians. There's a lot of funny things that have happened over our lives. So can you share with us one of your funniest gig stories that you can remember?
Oh man, there's so many, but I think one that really sticks out to me is when I was just starting to gig, and I was still in college. And so I went to University of Illinois, and so we would go up to Chicago for gigs. And they were like these ghost big bands that were still around at the time. And I forgot my shoes. And so we would wear these outfits, and I pulled my pants down as far as they would go and covered up my feet. And so I just kind of shuffled out there to the bandstand, and I can't remember who it was, but somebody with some notoriety, I just didn't want them to see it. This is like, I'm just starting out. So shuffled out there, my pants are pulled down, and just kind of keep my feet in the stand, and not got too embarrassed. But the guys in the section were all looking over me like, what? That's kind of,
How old were you?
I was probably 21, 20, I don't know. Somewhere like that. But, like those gigs were such a big deal. And I got so nervous, I would just, freak out. So
you started up the road and didn't double check that you even had the right clothes.
I'm still doing that. I'll pull over. He's like, wait, did I pack my mouthpiece? Maybe that's just senioritis or something. But anyway, that's one story that comes to my mind.
It's great. And did you end up, saxophones in a big band are always in the front row. So was it stand fronts so your feet were hidden, or was it regular stand?
Luckily, the fronts. So I put my feet in there. And then when we had a break, I would wait for everybody to get off stage. And then I would kind of shuffle off there. Oh, no problem.
I love it. It's like, I've always said this for years, and maybe this can be a little instigator for that kind of thing, is like, start collecting these stories and make a documentary out of it or something, of like the crazy situations that musicians in all the venues and all the timings of the gigs, crazy hours and weird locations. It's like
So great.
very entertaining life, you know.
It is great when somebody's a great storyteller who can tell it and just crack you up, man.
Our friend Bob Rebholz is classic. He has a billion stories, and he loves to tell them. So that's always passes the breaks, right, during intermission. Man, this has been so fun. Thank you for making the time, and we wish you the best for you and your family. And the Muse is now on a new trajectory, you know, with the live streams, and hopefully we'll start doing some live gigs too.
Yeah, we're actually having people come in, but probably no more than 15 people at a time, you know. And it was weird because when this shut down, we were really going great, and we had full houses, you know, up to 40, 50 people. And so we're hoping to hang in there. So
yeah, so everyone please consider supporting Muse Performance Space. And it's in Lafayette, Colorado, but you can find them on their website that I've been putting up on the screen. And music's one of the unifiers, you know, of the human race. So let's do our best to promote that and spread the positivity and light. And we're going to go ahead and finish off the show here with a real up-tempo song that I thought it'd be fun to have Pete play on with his pedal for electronic effects. And so we're going to end up here with a Turbulent Altercation. And I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have special questions that you'd like me to answer and get to Pete after the show, feel free to contact me through Sonic Tonic Experience. But Pete, thank you so much for your time and your talents, and best to you.
thanks, man. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Thanks.
Okay.